Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another live stream. Okay. For those watching in the future, let me pull up my trading journal real quick. I have to admit something. So here was my mindset the last couple weeks. The last 2 weeks have just been absolutely insane. So Liberation Day, I was expecting that to be a buy the event kind of thing. And instead, what happened, the market always keeps you on your toes. We had another week of dump. Hello, Saad. We had another week of dump. And then what many signs, what many things, indicators would point to would be a final flush out before not promising new all-time highs, but perhaps a new uptrend. So it's been rough the last couple of weeks from my perspective as far as the content that I've provided, the things that I've said, and I am I'm taking a reset and trying to think through things as logically as possible. I have made new YouTube videos, a new series, Best of X, which gives some perspective as to what's going on, the data at least. So check those out. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for those on TikTok at least. World War Bitcoin. And here we go. Foregone. Good morning. Good afternoon, Crayon Dave. Foregone. Shorted uni at 5.5. Is it a good play? And what is a good sell price? I don't know. I don't care about Uniswap, but congrats. You shorted at 550. Here we go. I would go down to the bottom Bollingers here. So, the bottom of the Bollingers would put it at as of right now at 470, but depending on how long it takes to get there, the bottom Bollinger will rise. And so this is something, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to revisit with you on Thursday, foregone. So anyway, it does look like we are on our way. I would assume that what's going to happen next with Bitcoin is that we would at least back test this trend line, or maybe, just go down to this 236, which is no longer applicable anymore because we went lower. So let me draw some new fibs here. What would that be? Come on. I'll draw some new fibs, or not. I'll just extend these fibs. So good idea to DCA HEEHEE. I think so. Wait for some rally. I would. This is a time to. Oh, it's locked. That's what the problem is. HEEHEE's not going much lower than where it is right now. So, if Bitcoin does not hit a new all-time high, we're not seeing 50x on HEEHEE. But anyway, let's see. Where are we? So yeah, like I was saying, maybe a back test of this trend line, maybe. I was hoping that Bitcoin would get up to a point where I'd want to short it first. And so I had a short set around the 200-day and the upper end of the Bollinger Bands. I mean, it's still green today. Bitcoin is still green today, so maybe it's just some intraday stuff going on. But, let's see. I mean, we can't really say we've put in a higher high yet. And okay, Saad, one of the top holders. So maybe that's still in play. Maybe. But let's see here. Okay, so be happy to answer any questions that there may be. Otherwise, oh my goodness, I just exited a window on my side screen. I need to pull that up again. So my general objective right now is just listen. Let's actually take a look at Bitcoin dominance real quick. That's a big part of this. Bitcoin's dominance is still not going the way that we want it to go. And so any move up in Bitcoin is going to be accompanied by weaker moves up in altcoins, and any move down in Bitcoin is going to be accompanied by stronger moves down in altcoins for the most part. Not every day, but that's generally how it's been for the last, 2 years or something like that. So right now, my strategy is I'm longing, I'm looking for longs on Bitcoin, and I'm looking for shorts on altcoins. And that is until we see something, see a reversal in Bitcoin's dominance, or we see, maybe I'll have a little bit of a different perspective when we see a higher high in the total altcoin market cap. Right now, we are not in higher high territory. Maybe we'll form a higher low somewhere. So I would say for the rest of the month, at least, it's going to be my strategy to look for longs on Bitcoin and look for shorts on altcoins. I'm really liking that strategy right now. That doesn't mean I'm just going to blindly short every altcoin. But when I see stochastic overbought, which it is on the total altcoin market cap, but for individual cryptos, I see stochastic overbought starting to make its way back down. This is a crypto like Tau that I'm looking to short for what? For not to new lows, but to something else, to a higher low, perhaps. So anyway, I'm always going to continue to look for shorts on altcoins for the time being. That's not going to be the case forever, most likely, but for the time being, and let's see some strength here in the charts. I also would say, when are we going to see Bitcoin dominance stop climbing? Personally, we'll see it the next time Bitcoin crosses its all-time high. So there's lots of people who are calling for new all-time highs. I am one of those people. I am not one of those people, but lots of other people. I hope they're right. And if that's the case, if Bitcoin breaks a new all-time high, then I think that's going to be accompanied by a season or a moment where altcoins will have their day. But that's just my general feel on the market right now. I mean, remember what happened back here. We had Bitcoin dominance go from, what was that, 61.5% down to 54.5%. What was that? That was very close to the time when Bitcoin crossed its early 2024 all-time high. So that's kind of my game plan right now, is just, when am I going to long altcoins? I'm going to long altcoins on the other side of an all-time high for Bitcoin, whenever that is. Whether that's a month from now or a year from now. It probably happens when Fed actually confirmed QT is stopping. At most, they have only said that it will stop mid-2025, not confirmed which month. Yeah, I mean, their balance sheet reductions are down to $5 billion a month. But I would say more so when QE begins, more than when QT stops. But we'll see. So, all right, I'm going to look at Aave. Now, I'm breaking a rule in one regard. Literally, just the first crypto I'm looking at, I'm breaking a rule in one regard with Aave. It's like, all right, with altcoins, I'm okay setting extremely aggressively low limit orders. So I did set a limit order before this live stream. Look at how close it came to this level that I don't even remember when I drew this level of support. My level of support's 113.11. It came within $1 of that on that big move down. So I did set a limit order for Aave at 114. So at what price will you be buying HEEHEE aggressively? For Bitcoin, I don't know. I mean, I've been a buyer of HEEHEE, and it may be that I just continue to DCA into HEEHEE. All right, so Aave, I did set a limit order at 114. That's that would be amazing if it's at 137 right now. 114 would be my limit order. I don't love Aave for longing or shorting right at this moment. So I will say that. Let me type my notes in here. Today's the 15th. So set a limit order at 113. Oh, 114, excuse me. Not excited about longing or shorting Aave right now. Okay, so what's the deal? Why am I not excited about longing Aave? Here's here's something that it's kind of an evolution in my trading strategy. This level right here, this price point, 134.28, that's another historic level of support. But given where the lower end of the Bollinger Bands is, I mean, I want playing it safe, especially with longing altcoins. I want a little bit more confidence than just a level of support, one level of support. I want more than one level. And so if we were to see, if the Bollingers were, at 133 right now, the lower end of the Bollingers, I'd be much more interested in longing Aave at this level. But I would assume that we're going to see some daily closes below 134 still. So like I said, limit order at 114 for Aave. Cardano, nothing's changed with Cardano in the sense that I have a short opened, a limit order short opened for Cardano at 67 cents. So let me pull up the Cardano chart, and you can see Bollingers are really tight. Cardano, we held this level as support for the most part for a little bit, for a decent amount of time since November, but then we lost that recently. So I'm thinking SR flip here, and now Cardano, this wouldn't be long term. It would just be like, let's say Cardano did form some kind of a higher high here at 67, somewhere between 67 and 70 cents. That's just for short term. Just a brief period where I would short. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the follow button on TikTok. If you want to see more information about this kind of thing, I'm telling you guys, I'm looking at charts and I see opportunities in both directions. It's much more enjoyable to see opportunities in both directions than just sitting in spot hoping that the market goes up. So same deal as Thursday, last Thursday. I would expect, maybe if we saw a quick spike up, maybe the short should be at 71 cents, but otherwise I'm shorting at 67 cents. So nothing has changed with Cardano. And that would just be for a short term. That wouldn't be that we're going to hit new lows with Cardano. That would just be to make some short-term gains. Yeah, guys, I did say this well, no, I haven't published that video yet, but Powell is speaking tomorrow, so might get some volatility. Let me actually bounce off of that real quick. So Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow. Actually, let me go to the total two. Should I go to the total two? I'll go to the total two. Jerome Powell is speaking tomorrow, and we've seen rumblings that the Federal Reserve what they've seen is the 10-year yield. They're terrified. So actually, let me go to the 10-year yield first. They've seen this recent spike in the 10-year yield, and they're terrified. They want this to come down, and they want to do whatever they can to bring it down. How do they bring the 10-year yield down? Well, what's caused the 10-year yield to spike is that Japan and China have been selling treasuries. They have a lot of treasuries. Japan actually holds more treasuries than China, and they've both been dumping their treasuries, which causes the 10-year yield to go up. And so how do they get the 10-year yield to come down? Is by buying a lot of treasuries. And so then they can lower interest rates. And so if they're going to buy a lot of treasuries, that is a form of easing, of quantitative easing, and that's an increase in their balance sheet. That's an increase in their supply. So Jerome Powell, let me go back to total two now. Jerome Powell, last time that he shocked the market, Bitcoin did this, the total altcoin market cap did this. You see these two red candles here. And that was around the time that I was like, uh-oh, something's not right. I'm exiting. I exited 25% of my portfolio. I exited on the bounce here, but I exited about 25% of my portfolio after I saw this and I saw a lower high put in. And then I exited another 15% because the Federal Reserve on these two candles on this day, what day was that? Wednesday, December 18th. Jerome Powell got up and spoke, and he spoke that he was saying that there was an increased hawkishness, an increased want to keep things tight mentality that we heard when Jerome Powell spoke. So that was the bad news at that time, and that's what caused me to take a lot more caution. But now, here we are today, much lower in market cap than where we were in December in the total altcoin market cap. And Jerome Powell is speaking tomorrow. And we already have seen communication from the Federal Reserve that they are going to want to take measures to fight against the 10-year yield going the direction that it's been going this past week. And so it's very likely that he's going to come out and speak in unexpectedly dovish terms, which, if that was the start with the total altcoin market cap, if that was the start, these two candles here, the start of a downtrend, maybe, I mean, we're continuing to put in lower highs and lower lows. Maybe this would be the start of a new uptrend. So some significant things happened last week that I did not expect to happen. I mean, I did not expect further dump after Liberation Day. That messed me up. But we saw at the end of the last week, in response to the panic, we saw some major players start showing some weakness. In particular, we saw Donald Trump start showing some weakness in his hard-as-nails approach with China. Some weakness, not entire weakness. And we saw the Federal Reserve show some weakness. What were they paying attention to? They were paying attention to the 10-year yield. They were not excited about that rapid spike in the 10-year. It's funny. I was just scrolling through my charts last week, and I came upon this chart, and I was like, "Ooh, that looks really bullish. What is that?" And then I realized it was the 10-year, and I cried myself to sleep. That's I'm being a little sarcastic or a little facetious there, but this chart was looking very bullish last week. They do not want it to look bullish. We do not want this to be a bullish looking chart. So yeah, Jerome Powell will speak tomorrow. Let's see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he spoke in some form of dovishness that would cause people to think that they're going to get at least somewhat aggressive with easing in some regard. Not full blown quantitative easing, but some form of easing. So, all right, next we have Avalanche. Avalanche, $19.59. Man, Avalanche's chart has been pretty tough to analyze because, was this a higher high? It's hard to say. I mean, you really couldn't call it that. So I would still say this is a downtrend, which means I'd rather be looking for shorts than longs on Avalanche for the time being. So maybe Powell speaks tomorrow, and it gets up to the upper level of these Bollingers here. So maybe a short at 2150 would be a good level to short. That's what I'm going to put. That would be, another lower high, and I wouldn't be surprised after that if Avalanche formed some kind of a higher low. So 2150, about 2150 would be my level. Let me look at the EMAs real quick and just see where we're at, 2050. All right, so Avalanche above the 20-day EMA, got rejected the 50-day EMA on that last spike in late March. So also got rejected the 50-day EMA today, or not today, a few days ago. So could it wick? I think it could. I think it could wick up to the upper level of the Bollingers. I'd rather play it safe. So 2150 for the short term. Eyeing that as a level to short. Okay, we have Bitcoin Cash. You know what? I mean, if we're talking about cryptos that I am least confident in doing anything with, I would say Bitcoin Cash is at the top of that list, or among the top cryptos. Or should I even say at the top of the list? What I would say about Bitcoin Cash is I definitely do not want to short Bitcoin Cash. This thing has a tendency of having violent spikes. So I'm not really interested in longing altcoins. So what I would say is I'm just not messing with Bitcoin Cash, and that's all. I say that with a great deal of respect towards Bitcoin Cash. I used to be a big time hater of Bitcoin Cash, but I respect it a lot more, especially after it outperformed Bitcoin in the last bear market. It didn't dump it was one of like 4 cryptocurrencies that didn't dump as much as Bitcoin did in the last bear market. So Bitcoin Cash, I'd be okay with a spot buy at 290, 296, 293, these 2 levels that I have here, the hot pink levels. Really interesting stuff that happened with Bitcoin Cash. I mean, another reason why I'm respecting this crypto is the Bollingers, the upper end of the Bollinger Bands was logically a great place to short, but look at how much higher it went. I mean, if you opened like anything higher than a 5x short on Bitcoin Cash, you might have gotten liquidated. And yet that was perfect resistance. So another reason why I'm not touching this in either direction. Why not 2 to 3x long at 300? I've tried that before. I'll just say this: I did have a long open on Bitcoin Cash at 293 on Sunday, April 6th, and then look where it went. And I got shaken out of that. I got either my stop hit or I just manually hit the exit. And so it's just, if you want to set a long 2 to 3x long and you're willing to short term lose money, that's probably a winning play. But I'm just telling you from experience, I tried that and I lost money. I got shaken out of it. So, spot buy at that level, sure. So not shorting. Too dangerous to short Bitcoin Cash. And not longing any altcoins right now. Good for a spot buy at 293. That's what I'll say. 294, because 293.98 is my level. So, all right. Binance, here's the name of the game with Binance. It's been the name of the game for since almost 2023. It feels structurally like the most reliable thing to trade. You just don't get shaken out, like I did that one day, but you're not wrong about that. So Binance has been in a range since March 12th of last year. And it's the same deal. It's just be a bull at the bottom of the range, be a bear at the top. That's really all that I want to say. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to move that. Let me lock it. So it is closer. BNB is closer to the bottom of the range. You want to buy some BNB short term, that's fine. It's closer to the bottom of the range, but it's not like I'm sitting here. BNB was my second biggest winner in 2021 after Dogecoin, but now it's a behemoth. It's kind of like nobody pays attention. Nobody in the United States at least pays attention to Binance, and it's one of the top 5 cryptos in existence. So this is a very safe play. This is much safer than a lot of other altcoins. Somebody's doing some kind of work here. So Dave, can you hear that? Dave on YouTube, Crayon Dave. I'm assuming you can. And I'm not going to be able to tell her, hey, stop doing some repairs while I'm live. I'm not going to be able to do that. So, all right, it's mild. Okay. I'm just going to keep going. I mean, you know what? I'll just turn my volume down on YouTube a little bit. So, okay, let me turn my volume down on YouTube real quick. All right, almost there. Okay. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. So let's see where we're going next. Is Jasmine being delisted? Matt, I haven't heard anything about Jasmine being delisted, but I mean, look at the Jasmine chart. Don't worry, I wouldn't worry about Jasmine being delisted. Look at the chart. That looks like a very bullish breakout. Now, where do we go from here? I'm not interested in longing Jasmine at this level. What I would probably do is try to draw some kind of a fib here and see what we can get. What do we got? You know, man, none of these support zones are aligning with these fibs. So whatever the case, I mean, Jasmine looks really good right now. It looks like it probably is going to come down a decent amount short term after a pump like that. You know, the amount of profit taking that people will do. So maybe this level here, 0.01228 would be a good entry. But I'm not touching it right now. There's no way. But I mean, listen, I'm not worried about any being delisted with Jasmine. It doesn't matter. Ay. Oh, that's killing me. All right, what's next on the trading spreadsheet? All right, let's see. Oh, Bitcoin. All right, so again, if you're now on this live stream for the first time, really liking what I'm seeing with Bitcoin, but I do want to point out this is not in an uptrend still. This is a good sign. It's a good start that it broke this downtrend line. That's a very basic thing that you look for. But that's just the beginning. That's not a point where we're like, all right, we're back on. What we need to see is, you're welcome, Matt, is I'm assuming that Bitcoin will backtest this trend line. And we need to see a convincing bounce, a forming of a higher low, and Bitcoin putting in a higher high. So right now, we're still in no man's land. Like I said earlier in this live stream, I have a limit order for a short set at the 200, a little bit of confluence there, the 200-day moving average and the upper level of the Bollingers. So that's where I'm planning on shorting Bitcoin. And again, don't be upset or anything by that. It's just a short-term play that I'm looking at as a trader. So, and I would exit that short well before. I would not expect new lows to hit with Bitcoin as a result of, you know, I'd be exiting well before then. So I want to die. Not really, but all right. Around 88K. Just again, the construction noise or whatever somebody's doing. All right, Doge. My last notes on Doge. Bullish on the 4-hour chart, but volume is low, not touching. So Doge, I ended up do as I say, not as I do. That's what I'll say about Doge, because I actually did buy some Doge earlier. Just some spot Doge, but 4-hour chart. Okay. So 4-hour chart last week was looking very bullish. Right now on the 4-hour chart, it looks like it's in a downtrend, but I'm not worried about 4-hour as much as I would be focused on the daily. So 4-hour chart is no longer looking bullish. Got rejected at the upper level of the Bollingers, but what about now? I mean, now on the daily looks good. So 4-hour doesn't look so good right now. So maybe we would expect a little bit further down to go with Dogecoin, but the daily chart looks really good. So at some point, I might be interested in opening a limit order for another spot buy on Doge. But so 4 hours now bearish, but the daily looks good. I'm expecting a higher low formed on the daily. Where would that be? maybe like 14.5 cents or something like that. I'm just spitballing, maybe 15 cents. But it would make sense, especially looking at stochastic being oversold or overbought. It would make sense for Dogecoin to continue to go down right now. So, all right, Polka Dot. Polka Dot still looks terrible. I have no interest in. I did not mean to do that. I have zero interest in buying any Polka Dot. I have zero interest in opening a long on Polka Dot. I want to find every opportunity I can to short this cryptocurrency. Maybe after Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow. So, even just this little bit of bullish momentum on Polka Dot is enough to make me want to short it right now. I'm not going to do it right now. If I was paying attention to this chart, I would have shorted it yesterday or earlier today. Maybe. I mean, I probably would have waited for the middle Bollinger. I think Dot's done. I think it's pretty much done. Guys, if Bitcoin makes its way up to a new all-time high, this is not the cryptocurrency to buy. There's other altcoins. That may be worth buying. I would between now and a new all-time high on Bitcoin, I would have an extremely selective list of altcoins that I'd be willing to buy. Very few are going to be worth buying until after a new all-time high for Bitcoin, whenever that time comes. So what would be on that list? XRP would be on that list. A lot of the ISOs would be on that list. Even Dogecoin, I know that sounds crazy. Dogecoin would be on that list, which is why I bought some. But a lot of other ones I just really wouldn't touch. So, I mean, there's plenty of cryptos that I would say look pretty strong or would look strong enough. Like Aave had an amazing 2024. So maybe this is one that would be worth buying, but maybe a Cardano, but otherwise I'm sticking with longing Bitcoin and maybe dabbling in some spot with some of those other cryptos that I already mentioned. So Link thoughts. Link's one that I'd be willing to buy for sure. Now, Link, man, I'm so upset with myself. I thought I set a limit order for a short on 1317, but I didn't. I mean, look, this isn't for just looking at the chart, just looking on the daily chart. This is not. It doesn't look good. All right, let's just be real. There's a lot more hope, a lot more excitement for maybe we've bottomed out, and I would say last week was probably a bottom, not the bottom, not like, all right, now see you at $200,000 Bitcoin, but a local bottom. And so, but still, Chainlink, it got rejected exactly where I thought it would have gotten rejected. And I swear, I could have sworn I set a limit order to open a short at $13.17, and then look exactly where it went. It went to, what's the exact price that it wicked up to? $13.28. So I was off by 10 cents. And now the hope with Chainlink is that if last week was a bottom, that it's not going down below where it went last week. So how low did it go last week? Right around $10. So what's a good entry for Chainlink? I would say maybe mid 11s or pay attention to the bottom of the Bollingers there. That might end up being a good level of support, and that the bottom of the Bollingers is rising. So maybe that would rise over the next several days up until the mid 11 range. So that's my thoughts on Chainlink. Let me put my notes in my trading journal here on Chainlink before I forget. But even though I just said that, this is one that if it were to get down to the mid 11 range, I would confidently buy it. So this is on the daily. Yep. My last notes on Chainlink, now looking to short at $13.80. if it gets up there, which is exactly, it went to 13.28. And I thought I did, but I tend to sometimes forget. I'm kind of spacey. If I was more organized, I'd be a killer trader, but now I'm just a sufficient trader, I suppose. So my notes now. Decent higher low potential on Link, maybe getting down to the mid 11s. Those are my thoughts on Chainlink. So let's see, Ethereum. Oh, Ethereum. Can we be more depressed than looking at an Ethereum chart? Now, there's actually a couple charts I want to look at with Ethereum. And sure, I'll look at the Ethereum chart. New downtrend, the thing that I drew, new trend line drawn, opening shorts at the trend line is ideal. Just new downtrend trend line. My goodness. This yellow trend line wasn't enough. We had to draw a new trend line. I'll look at Clearpool in a second. So now what? Now am I going to short at this trend line? No, not quite. We've gone up to, I'd at least want to see some Bollingers moving down either the middle range or the upper range before shorting this. Maybe it's due to break out above. We'll see. Just like Bitcoin did. But the other chart that I wanted to pull up here was ETH dominance. If I can find it. Yeah, ETH dominance. So bear with me for a second, but this chart is one of the ugliest charts in all of crypto. But, good news, positive development. It is now, after all this time, did you know in 2020, actually 2019, that ETH dominance, or late 2019, early 2020, ETH dominance, like the sentiment towards ETH was as low as it is right now. There was a time, and that time was 2020. So Ethereum dominance got to 7.1%. It's right now at 7.42%. It's there. If there is ever going to be a time, please, a time for Ethereum to reverse, now would be the time. Now would be the time. But if we're going to lose this level, then I don't know what to say, man. Because Ethereum is just out of this world, depressing. So not touching it, but all right. Okay, so, all right, Clearpool. I think I have that on here, unless I did a little bit of cleaning up. Nope, Clearpool is still on there. Oh yeah, double bottom. Now it's right up at resistance with the Bollingers, but like double bottom, I always love seeing, especially Adam and Eve double bottoms there. That looks pretty good. Now, is it gonna be able to break out and hit a new, a higher high there? I don't know. We'll see. But that does look like a bullish chart. And let's see, in Beam. So let's see Beam. 0.005. Beam looks like an earlier version, a few days behind Clearpool. We will see. I don't know much about Clearpool. I know Beam is pretty small market cap. So that would be great if this was a bottom for Beam and it wasn't going lower. Not too sure either way. So I feel like ETH was like this in 2020 before we got alt season. You look on the chart, that's exactly what it was. All right, ICP, not a cryptocurrency that I'm interested in buying at this point in time. And I'm not going to be interested in buying it until after a new all-time high for Bitcoin. Bitcoin will outperform ICP between now and a new all-time high for Bitcoin. And this looks terrible. it's still, I mean, we've seen some altcoins look pretty strong recently. ICP is not one of those altcoins, not even close. I want to see this on Heikinashi real quick. Oh, Heikinashi. Yeah, yesterday would have been a good time to open a short on, according to Heikinashi. But let me go back to regular candles. Now, I mean, maybe I'll open a short, but I mean, man, if I was looking at charts, I made 2 YouTube videos earlier today that are going to be published tomorrow and the day after. If I had really been thinking through this, my time would have been better spent just looking at charts and looking for positions to enter on shorts. So it's too late now. I think ICP will end up putting in a higher low. So, but my notes from last week, short every pump, and hopefully the market will give one soon. The market gave a pump. I did not short it. So, you live, you learn, you move on. There's going to be other opportunities. Next time you see this pump, open a short. Since you would short ICP, you would short Uni as well. I mean, I just said I would not short ICP right now. I would have shorted it a couple days ago. I am still looking at shorts. I'm looking to short more than long, with especially with a chart that looks like this. Oh yes. Now Jasmine looks insane. What a pump for Jasmine. I already did look at Jasmine on the chart. Let me just get caught up here. I don't think it's going to lose. I don't think this is going to round trip. This was a losing play of mine, and I just got stopped out. I tried shorting it at 0.1228. It made a lot of sense to me that would be a good level to short. But Jasmine filled a significant fair value gap from. I mean, you look at the peak in 2023. This level here, 0.008, was the 2023 peak. But then in 2024, when we broke through that, we did not back test that level, that price point. We just went straight through, did not back test. And so it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And you can see some people understood the assignment. It made a lot of sense that would have been a local bottom for Jasmine. Again, I was asleep at the wheel, but boom, filled the gap and then pumped really hard. Now my expectation is that it would go down, that there would be some profit taking here and it would go down to at least 0.012. So had an insane pump, will not completely reverse. 0.01228 is likely a good entry for now. I didn't realize how aggressively global liquidity spiked Thursday, Friday last week. I'll take your word for that, but that sounds right. Not surprised at all to hear that. I saw this chart. I had no idea that this was the case. The amount of money printing going on in China right now is off the charts insane. And it's been like this just straight since 2021. United States, I mean, you're typically paying attention to United States liquidity and money supply. China is wild, the amount of things that they're doing. I did already look at Polka Dot. My notes, still worth shorting every pump. This looks finished. Polka Dot is not one that you should be, in my opinion, even now buying. Not yet, at least. Buy more fundamentally solid projects. So, yeah, no worries. All right, let me look at Litecoin. Oh man, Litecoin. So just like Chainlink, Litecoin didn't quite get there. Oh my goodness, this is breaking my heart because I did actually have a limit order set on Litecoin. But look at this. Look at where I wanted to short. 80.70. And sometimes I do set a lower limit order because I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing. And where did Litecoin go? Instead of 80.7, it went to 80.54. So that was a level I put. Looks bullish on the 4-hour chart. Does not look bullish on the 4-hour chart now, but looks bullish on the daily chart. Lots of resistance at $80.70, looking to short there. And instead of going to $80.70, it went to $80.54. So, and then next time it's going to be more dangerous to short at that level next time it gets up there. So barely missed the entry, got up to 80.54. If I were looking to long this, here's what I would do. I would wait a little bit. Because what I would want to do is long on a back test of the trend line. But what's probably going to happen with Litecoin, unless, Jerome Powell gets up tomorrow and just is insanely dovish, is one bounce off the trend line and then another bounce off the trend line, and then maybe at that point the Bollingers will have made their way up, and that's going to be the time that I'd be much more interested in longing Litecoin. Right now, not longing. I missed my entry on the short, so I'm just kind of sitting on the sideline like the guy in the meme on Narcos, where he's just standing and waiting forever. I've never seen that show, but I know the meme. So kind of crazy if you look at others with global liquidity, it matches completely until the Bitcoin ETFs launched. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. So, Alex, am I subscribed? Nay. You are subscribed. Yes. So, thank you for being a subscriber. And as a man of Portuguese origin, I am a fan of Nene. Yeah, you can message me. Send me a message. I'll respond. Okay, let's look at Quant. 66.52. This trend line is all out of whack. I don't know where this came from. So pay no attention to the trend line. Let's see here. What do we do with this? Quant doesn't look amazing. I wish it did. I like Quant. This is kind of a no comment for me. Well, it's the same deal that I just said with Litecoin. Quant, when's a good time to long? Back test of the trend line with the Bollingers coming up. Maybe that's it. Something worth paying attention to if you were to long, which I'm not going to. So if you wanted to long, do it on a back test of the trend line with Bollinger support on the daily. Yeah, Skyline contracting. I did look at Cardano already. Am I bullish Bitcoin to 150? No. I am still of the mindset that we are not hitting a new all-time high in 2025. After 2025, Bitcoin over 150, yes. I know I'm weird. You're still hearing everyone talking about 4-year halving cycle. Last week was a bottom. I'm willing to say that. Last week was a bottom, not the bottom. So what I said about Cardano is that I would confidently short it at 67 cents. Now, we can agree to disagree, Mar. That's fine. Please don't say my name over and over again. It's just this little thing that just kind of pricks at me. So I don't know about that. I'm still buying. Fine. And you know what? I think you're fine to buy right now anyway. So I mean, what I said about about Cardano is I am looking to short this at 67 cents, but I would expect it to put in a higher low, and that we would then make our way into a higher high. So, if you're looking for an entry on Cardano, I would say around 60 cents maybe, or 58 to 60 cents, something like that. So, okay. Solana, I was just flat out wrong on Solana, and I took my cues from somebody else. I said 126 was a perfect level of resistance for Solana if it can get that high. And Devin, your boy Ski, here's my concern. Here was my issue with Solana, is just how much time it spent under the bottom of this 1 year range. So it spent a long time under, it spent 10 days under the bottom of 1 year range in the price. This is a 1 year range. So I'm like, all right, you know what? That's got to be resistance now. But then we broke through it easily. And now we're just kind of hanging out between two zones here. But then Devin pointed out to me on our live stream on Friday that you look at the market cap chart, because Solana is kind of highly inflationary. If you look at the market cap chart, we're just still in range. So I messed up on Solana big time, and it happens, So always worth paying attention to the price charts and the market cap charts. Now what? Maybe 126 is support, but I could see this going back down to that trend line and then bouncing off of it. That would be my more of a play. So, okay, how much rate cuts you think is bullish for crypto? One rate cut by itself is not bullish for crypto. Multiple rate cuts and then rates bottoming out is bullish for crypto. So take it one step at a time, Makes me think all of this cycle has been driven by the ETF's momentum, and that when we get favorable monetary policy, we will move way more aggressively than we have seen so far, for alts especially. That has been my thesis this entire time. The entire time. Nene, I have no idea. You could look me up on X and send me a message there, WW Bitcoin on X. But what have I been saying? I've been saying, like, listen, I'm a bull for when monetary policy, I'm a mega bull for when monetary policy aligns. And you know what? The ETFs were very bullish for Bitcoin. But what if there were no ETFs? What if there was never a spot Bitcoin ETF launched? I seriously think that, we might have peaked at like $80,000 and that's it. Maybe even less than that. And then we would have had to wait for monetary policy to align. But the ETFs have really kind of messed things up in one regard. I mean, not for the price for Bitcoin, but it's gotten us in this mindset, that things were going to go the same way they've always went, and that certainly has not been the case. All right. Yeah, maybe it would have been 70K. Maybe. Yep. I mean, if you remember my Bitcoin price target video from January 2nd of 2024, I gave two different scenarios. I gave a scenario where I said I could see Bitcoin not hitting a new all-time high in 2024 or 2025. But the big wrench that was thrown into this was the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So, okay, Sui. I think this is a great, man, I think I might break my rule again with Sui. This liquidity zone held during a moment of peak fear. The stock market fear and greed index got to a score of 4. I think it might have even been 3 last week. And SUI did not on a daily candle lose this zone, which makes me think that this is a fantastic zone to enter along on SUI. So, all right, I'm going to break my own rule. Sorry. I do as I say, not as I do. That's what I say to my kids all the time. 196 low leverage long, 192 somewhat higher leverage long. I don't do high leverage. When I say high leverage, I mean like 5x and nothing more. But I only ever do 5x on Bitcoin. So given how well it held the liquidity zone last week, it should hold again this week. If it limit orders, I'll just say limit orders at 197 and 192. Oh, how long have I been live on YouTube here and on TikTok? 55 minutes. I am almost done with, I have 4 more in the trading journal. Tron is just insane. Tron, I am blown away that Tron has held up as well as it has. When everything else, I mean, it had a big spike up, but after that, I mean, it's just been holding. I think that's its previous all-time high. No, I don't know. It's just been holding this level 22 cents so well. And now it looks like it's ready to this is one of the strongest cryptos. You're not getting a 100x gain on Tron. Forget about that, but this looks really good. You're not I mean, I'd be happy with doubling my money if I were to buy Tron right now. But whatever the case, I mean, this is one, along with Bitcoin Cash, Tron outperformed Bitcoin in the last bear market. And why is that? It's because they have deflationary tokenomics. They make money. A lot of people hate on Tron. They make money. They're one of like 7 platforms that actually makes money. And so don't hate on something that is doing something that like very few cryptos have cracked the code. And because they make money, they're able to burn their supply. And this is a deflationary crypto. That's why it's best tokenomics, one of the best tokenomics, maybe the best tokenomics of all cryptos is Tron. And all I don't hear anyone ever asking me to look at Tron. I don't hear anyone. All I hear about Tron is negative stuff. I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of Justin Sun, but, I wouldn't be surprised if he had very little to do with this, but like Tron's just killing it right now. This is one, you know what? I'm just going to say this now. I'd be fine longing Tron for sure. All right, whatever. I don't remember what I was going to say. Okay, we have VeChain. VeChain's held up pretty well. So VeChain, yeah, I mean, still in a downtrend, but I identified this place, this level here, 1.9 cents, as a great place to enter, and then that's exactly where it went. Now I'm not excited about buying VeChain. I'd wait for a higher low. So where do we go for the higher low? Maybe around 20 cents, or I'm sorry, 2 cents, a little higher than 2 cents. So something like that. This was its last defense before going back down to its bear market bottom, so it held. But between longing and shorting, I would rather be shorting VeChain right now. But I'm just not touching it at this moment. Okay, XLM. I am right now in a short on XLM. A little bit hesitant short, I will say that. Ay, what is this? I think I accidentally moved that trend line without even knowing that I did it. So I think that's what the trend line should be. So I shorted at the trend line. And it's been pretty flat the last few days. I think I'm like at a break-even level. But it's not showing any strength in breaking through that trend line. I think it will soon. You know, especially, so my last note was tight spot between the trend line and 236, but I think it will dump below, shorting soon. I'm not entirely sure that it's gonna go below this 236, the top of the red zone there anymore. So I'll probably exit if it were to get down to the 236 again. I'd probably exit there. It may not even. I might have to abandon this before maybe like 22.5 cents. So. All right, looking to exit my short around 22.5 cents. We'll reevaluate after that point. What time is it? It's 1. Okay, 1 my time at least. And then XRP looks better than XLM. Come on, lock it. All right. It has. Could we say higher high? I would not say higher high, but held the 200-day very well. So it held the 200-day. It broke above the trend line. Looks to me, I'm guessing, nah, that's so low. I don't know, man. I have a hard time believing that they're going to let XRP go below $2 again, at least anytime soon. This is kind of a no man's land for me. I don't love it in either direction. I think I'm just going to say that and then call it quits with looking at specific charts. I'm just going to say like under $2 is probably a good buy for XRP as of right now. So all right, not convinced in either direction. That's all I said in the trading journal. So that's it. If there are any last requests to look at different cryptocurrencies, we can take a look at Fartcoin. Fartcoin, there's something about Fartcoin that's respectable in some regards. It's like, I think it's just kind of taken the place of like, all right, I want to be a degen. Where do I go? I'll buy some Fartcoin. I would not be buying Fartcoin right at this moment, but this is one of the most bullish charts in all of crypto. It's insane. Fartcoin. All right. Well, I think that's it for me. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Time frame for HEEHEE move when everything else moves. We got to let the market lead us. So Thank you, Nick. All right, I'm done. Fartcoin.